Now in this second video, I'm going to explain to you the operation of a program using the Atmega 328P and also making use of Microchip or Atmos Studio. So this is the second video and there will be more to follow the deeper I go into this specific program. So let's have a look at, first of all, I'm going to go to the Proteus design, which is showing my hardware. As you can see, I've connected this 16 by 2 LCD display to the AVR, the Atmega 328P, and I've also connected this DS1307 I2C real-time clock here. What I must maybe say here, if you want to do something similar like this, it says automatically initialize from the PC clock. If you do that, it will load the PC data into this device, and that could actually give you a false sense of security, because that's not what you've programmed. This is what the PC is placing inside this device. So just take it away. If you untick it, that means if you see something, it is going to program what you want it to be programmed in there. If I can just quickly show you, I've already loaded the program here, but I just want to show you, in my case, if I start this thing, it is going to start at 11:05:00, and this is the date 06/05/2025, but 11:05. So if I go to my program, I just want to quickly show you, so for a start with this program, I have programmed, as you can see here, that's 11 and that's the 05 I'm talking about. So this is why it's starting at 11:05 in my specific program. So, but as I go along, I will explain and so forth. I'm not going to explain, what I'm going to do, first of all, let me just run through the program so that if you need to make a copy of this program or duplicate this program, you can use it. This is going to line 23. Let me just go to line 24. It's now clear. Down to line number 46 is also clear. 47 to 69 is clear. Up to 47 is clear. 48 to 70 is clear. 71 to 93 is clear. Let me just look at 94 so that you can also see that is clear. 94 up to 116 is sort of clear. 117 to 139. 140 to 162. Let me just get in 163 here. So there it is, up to 185. 186 to 208. 209 up to 231 is clear. 232, I must maybe bring in here. There you go. 232 to 254. And from 254 downwards. So now the whole program is clear if you want to reproduce the specific program. So what I'm going to do is, so I've given you the whole program that I've written here. As I've said, I'm not going to explain the LCD part in some of my other videos, which I've also got on YouTube. You can go and look at those videos. They will explain how this LCD is working. You can compare this LCD with the connections that I've got here. Let me just move it slightly. So this is how I've connected this LCD display. So this is the program is written according to this specific connections. So if I can just go to the program again. So as I've said, I've already explained this. I'm not going to explain this LCD command or the data or initialization or the go to or the print. I've done all of this in the previous video. Variable print, I've done all of that. LCD split, I will get to again I2C functions in some of my other videos. I've also explained I2C and also how to generate an I2C write, for instance, and an I2C start condition, I2C stop conditions. I've done all of that. The I2C initialize, how we do that, I2C read. So you can just go and look at some of my previous videos on I2C on YouTube. So this square wave initialization, it's something new, which I will explain now. And the RTC set time, RTC set date, get time, and get date, I will explain all of that in my program, or maybe this and the next one. So in my main program, let's start in the main program. As I've said, LCD initialize. Yeah, that's not something I'm going to explain. I've done it before. I2C initialize, I've done that before. If we look at this the square wave initialization, I just wanted to show that it is possible to generate a square wave. Here it is. Remember, if I can quickly go to this one, as we've seen before in the previous video number 1, if you go to address number 7 and you basically make this bit number 4 a 1, then you can generate a specific frequency, which is determined by the values of RS0 and RS1. So what I've done is I've made the 0, 0, so it's going to generate a frequency of 1 Hertz in my specific case. So the square wave initialization, like always, if we want to write, you have to do the start condition. So if I want to write to the specific real-time clock, we've seen in the first video also, if I write D0, I'm telling this device I'm going to write data to it. And what I'm doing here is if I write 07, it's actually pointing to address 7. And this is written 10 into that specific address, and 10, as we've seen, that square wave bit is then activated with this one here, and it will generate because it's 00 here, it's going to actually enable a square wave of 1 Hertz, as we've seen before. And then there's a stop condition. So this is how I've initialized the square wave initialization. So let's go back to the main program, which is this one here. Then I've got a function written here, which is a real-time clock set time and a real-time clock set date. Now, in videos to follow, I'm going to actually, because this is a fixed method to set the time, which is an hour and a minute and a second. So you're going to, with this program is writing this data into the real-time clock. But if you develop a product and you try and do it like this, it would not be a good idea, because sometimes people want to change. A lot of times people want to change the time, especially if the battery goes flat. So in my videos to follow, I'm going to show you how I've developed a menu to program these values of the hour and the minutes and the seconds and the year and the month and the day, how to program that in there. So I'm first just going to start off by saying how do we do the real-time clock, how do we set the time, and how do we set the date. And then you'll see here in the while one loop, I'm going to read the time and read the date. I'm just calling it get time. So let's have a look at this real-time clock set time. So if we go to this specific, if we go to this function, here it is. So now we want to set the time. In other words, we again want to write data into this real-time clock. So as we've seen before, there must always be a I2C start. And if I want to write to it, it's going to be D0. So D is actually the address. And the 0 indicates that it's still part of the address, but also it is the writing function. So what we're doing here is I'm actually writing zeros. That actually says the register is now the pointer is now to address 0. That's where it's pointing to. And then we know how this also works, the I2C write. So the first thing I'm going to write is the seconds. I've received the seconds as we've seen from the main program. Let me just go back to the main program. That's actually the seconds that I've given or pre-programmed inside this specific program. That's the minutes, and this is the hour. So it will actually write the seconds, and it will, as we've seen, because we start at 0, 0, it will write seconds into position 0, address 0 basically, and of course the slave, the real-time clock slave, they'll respond automatically with an acknowledge. Then we'll write the minutes, and then we'll write the hour, and then there's the I2C stop. And if I need to write the date, it's actually the one following that. So I'm pre-programming it with 25, which is the year, month, and day. And if I go to this specific function, let's go to it. Again, I want to write, so this is a start condition. D0C says I want to write to it. Then we write the first data, which is 04. That will set the pointer to address 4. So the next data that will follow is going to be pushed into address 4, which is this one here. So the day will be placed in address number 4, which I've received from my main program now. Then the month will be placed in address number 5. And then the year will be placed in address number 6. And then there's the stop condition again. Just want to look at the time. Okay, so it's still okay. And now after these two lines, I've actually programmed this whole device. It's now sitting with data, and automatically once the data is in, the real-time clock will start running on its own, because that's the whole purpose of this thing. So then I've also got here how to basically get the time, and you can see this is happening in the real-time or in the while one loop. So it will continuously go and execute all these lines that we see here, and it's going to read the time. And as you can see here, I'm actually giving the address to the function, which means in the function there will be a pointer. So there's an address of hour, the address of minutes, and the address of seconds. So if we go to get time, you can just go there. It will be now making use of the reading function. So if we want to read, there must be a start condition again, as we've seen in video number 1. Well, at this stage, we are writing a 0, we are writing to it, and it is now pointing, again, if we put 0 in there, it's pointing to the first address. So I'm writing data to it to tell it where do I want to start reading from it. In this will follow now. And there's your stop condition. So this first 4 lines here is just to get the address or the pointer to the correct address inside the real-time clock. So here again, now I want to start reading. There's the start condition, as we've seen before. And as we can see now, there's the D1. That 1 indicates the master wants to read from it. So if you write to this device, you are actually going to read. You're telling this you want to read from it. And as you can see here, pointer to a char S has actually got the sec. It's actually pointing to sec because the address of sec was given from the main function. So we'll place in sec, basically what happens in sec, we will place the first value that we read now from address 0, which is the seconds. Then in min, we will place the value that we receive from the real-time clock. And then in hour, we will place basically the time that we've received again from the real-time clock. If I've got a 1 year from my previous explanations, if I place a 1 in here, the master will acknowledge, which means the master will pull the line low. The same with that one there, it will pull the line low. And if I put a 0 there, it's actually going to do a not acknowledge, which is by placing a high on the address, on the data lines. And there's the stop. So this is how I read the time. And now I've got actually in hour, in minute, and sec, I've actually got the values from the real-time clock, which I've read. So in my LCD, I'm just saying go to the top line, first position, and then I'm calling I'm giving it as an argument hour, but there's a split function by the name of split. Let's go to the function of the name of split. And where is it now? Here it is. So basically, if I give, because I've given hour as an argument, in high, you will actually, because BCD time, that it's actually hour from the original main program, it will move the nibble to the lower position. So high will actually contain the high hour, and low will then contain the low hour, and that will now be written to my LCD display. I've said here, just close this, I've said here, go to the top position. So I've split them into a high and a low, but it's actually high hour and low hour. And it will first of all display, it will write high, the high hour, and then it will just next to it, because the pointer of the LCD will also move one position to the right, it will then print high, low. Hour, low. And then I've just placed in here a colon. And again, then I've taken minutes, I've splitted it into basically a minute high and a minute low. So after this colon, I will place the high minute, then the low minute, and then there's another colon. And then I take the sec and the seconds basically, and I've splitted them into a high seconds and a low seconds, and it will then print these values also on my screen at the top. Now, if I go to the real-time clock get date, so as you know by now, the day is actually stored in address number 4. So I'll have to go to address number 4 and get it from there. So let's go to real-time clock get date. Let's just go to that one. And as you can see here, I2C start. It says I'm going to write data to you, and the pointer is then set at 4 because I want to read day, of course. And this is the stop. Again, from you have to stop if it's just a write. This first section is a write type of command, and here we want to start reading. So how do we read? We push a start out, and as you can see again, D1, that one says I want to read from you, and from where, of course, we've set the pointer to 04, and now again. This is a pointer to day, which is read, and an acknowledge is actually, condition is generated by the master. Then the month is read, and an acknowledge is generated by the master. And the year is read, and another not acknowledge is now generated by the master. And then there's your stop. So as before, now that we've got the value read into year, month, and day, this is where we are. Month and day, just like before, I'm now saying the 2 year means go to the bottom line and display the high value of day, and then follow that with a low value of day. And then there's in this case I just made a well, I'm not sure what that is called, but in any case it just splits the day and then the month. Same to basically display the month high and month low, and another separation there. And of course, yeah, what I've done here is I've set LCD variable print. I've just added the 20 before I take the value that I've read from the real-time clock, because this 20 here is just for 2025 or 2026 or 2027 or whatever. So yes. And then it will be displayed, and this is how the program works. So my next video, I'm going to actually focus on what did I do to actually create, because here it's fixed, but now I want to create a menu. And this is what's going to be focusing on in my next program. So if I can stop here and start, as I've said, it will always then, because my program says start with 11:05. Which is a little bit stupid if you use it like this. We would rather go for a menu to be able to change these values. But for now, this is just leading up to how do I do a menu. In video number 3, then I will I will discuss how I've generated a menu. But as you can see, this thing will be reading the whole time. It's actually in that while one loop. It's actually constantly overwriting the values that you've got, but because it's 1, 1 and it's not changing, Only when this thing becomes 1, 2, you will actually realize that it's actually overwriting it the whole time. Because the seconds are changing, this is why you see the seconds running. But yeah, so thank you for watching this video. I hope it was quite helpful. Thank you.